And it's been a long time since I've been in the States. Huh? When was it? February, 2 years?
Christmas 2007.
Yeah. Yeah. So almost 2 years. Almost 2 years. Well, I've stayed out longer than that. A couple of times in India, I was gone for 3 or 4 years at a stretch. And it's always a shock coming back to the U.S. You know, it's almost never a shock to go to another place. In fact, when I went to India the first time, I instantly loved it. I remember getting off the plane, and we were in Delhi. We're taking a 747, huge airplane, and they didn't. In those days, they didn't have terminals for 747s, so they had to park out on the tarmac somewhere. Then they brought ladders, and then we went down the stairs, you know, and into a bus. And as soon as I came out, I could smell India, you know, the wood smoke and spices and who knows what. The Ganges and Tulsi and, you know, India just has its own aroma. Well, you can smell in New York too, you know. It's not nearly as nice. But even, you know, Delhi and being at the jet port and everything, it was like when you're walking down a small hallway and all of a sudden you come to a really big room where the ceiling is very high. That's the kind of feeling it had to me. That I had been in Western society, Western civilization my whole life. And I'd made one little short trip to Baja California, but that doesn't really count because that's tourist land. And other than that, I hadn't been out of the continental US before I went to India. So when I went to India, that was really the first time I had been out of the country. And I got the cook's tour, you know, because we found the cheapest flight available. And from London, we went to Paris, Orly Airport, and then we transferred to a flight from Afghani Airlines, which I don't think even exists anymore. Afghani Airlines, you know, flight number -3. The flight was 22 hours late leaving Paris. We were stuck in the departure lounge for 22 hours waiting for these rascals. And it was like, oh, when is the plane coming? The plane is coming, plane is coming. Pretty soon, all we had to do was walk in the general direction of the counter, and they'd go, coming, coming! So we finally get on the plane, and, you know, it's like there's all these strange characters. And we stopped, I think we must have made 17 stops between Paris and Kabul. And then finally in Kabul, we transferred to an Air India 747 and flew down to Delhi. But we stopped at Addis Ababa. I mean, you know, places I'd never even heard of. You know, we made an unscheduled stop at an unmarked dirt airstrip in somewhere in, you know, who knows-istan. And 40 Chinese workers got on the plane. And they were all dressed in these blue, identical wool outfits with, you know, the little commie caps and the whole thing. And they all filed on the plane, and they were on the plane from there. I mean, it was probably another 12 hours they were on the plane with us. And the whole time, None of them spoke a single word. If you can imagine this, 40 guys on the plane, silent. You know, we're like, you know, the only Hare Krishnas in the world, I think, at that time. And so after all this, you know, we finally get to India. And it was like, wow. It was like this big place. It's a huge place. So, you know, you can feel the vibe of a place, the energy of a place. And India just had this vibe of being, you know, so ancient and so much stuff had happened there. And, you know, completely different. It's completely different. So anyway, we're going there real soon. As soon as we make a little stop in the U.S. and have a little festival and a few little old initiations, then we'll climb on the plane again and go to India. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm kind of done here, you know. If we had had a lot of support from our Western devotees, and they had said, like, yeah, really, like, make a farm there, and we'll sell everything and come down there with you. Well, we would have said, great, and we stuck it out, and we would have made something here. But basically, the idea was that we were getting was Chile? Where's Chile? It's somewhere south, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. It's way south. We're about, I guess, the same climate as maybe, where you come from? South Carolina, North Carolina? Yeah, it's a pretty similar climate to there. So it's not too bad in the wintertime. But of course, there's no central heating or anything like that. You know, everything's wood stoves. And so it's like being in the U.S., maybe it's like being in the south of the U.S. back in the 1930s or 1940s. You know, everything sort of works. But it requires constant maintenance, and it's nice. I like it. It's like a time machine to me. It's like going back in time. And I remember when I was a kid, we still had dirt roads in our town. We were, you know, like 12 miles from Manhattan, and we still had some dirt roads. The man up the street at the corner, old Clancy, still had a horse and a barn, and he was the junk man. He used to go around with this old wagon, this old horse and wagon with cowbells on it, clunkety, 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 and he would take everybody's old refrigerator and scrap metal and stuff like that. And so he was our recycler. Well, that all changed while I was growing up, but when you come down here, it's still like that. You know, there are horses that just right in the lot next door, there's a couple, 3 horses that graze there sometimes. And, you know, you we're on a dirt road, and you walk a little farther up the dirt road, and you're in the middle of nowhere. You're on the side of a volcano. So it's really cool. You know, I really like it. And we're going to go to a very similar place in India, up in the mountains where it's green, and the air is good, and the water's good, like that. So that way we'll be able to stay there for a long time. We won't have to keep coming back and, you know, recuperating from India. We'll be able to stay pretty much indefinitely there, I hope. So we're getting ready for that, and that's very exciting. Meanwhile, our social networking site, community.esotericteaching.org, is growing rapidly. And we have opened up the enrollment for the Bhakta degree program again. For a while we had frozen it because we wanted to restructure everything. But now that's coming together, and so we decided to open that up. Another thing we request everyone who registers on our community networking site to please upload your picture, use your full name, your real name on your profile, and set your location. In the future, we're going to actually get more users. We're actually going to divide the site. We're going to clone it and divide it into geographical areas. And so the people from one side of the world will be on one site, and others will be on other sites, and like that, according to the location that they have in their profile. And the reason we're going to do that is to keep the total number of users in the site down to a reasonable number. No more than like 150 users. We don't want to be like Facebook, where you have like 200 million users or whatever, some ridiculous amount of users they've got. We want to keep it so that you can actually know everybody